Wondering if I was on my own there this morning. New day. Wow, I had a busy day yesterday. Here we are this morning, back with Chatterbox. Morning, David. You got beaten by Abigail this morning. That's a £10 million fine for you, David. Cash only. You are Lord, 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 you are Lord. Yes. Start the day remembering that we are children of the King who reigns. You are Lord. You are Lord. You are Lord. You are Lord. You're my Lord. You are Lord. You are Lord, you are Lord. Morning, Pat. You are Lord. Every day I rise up, you are Lord. Morning, Heather. You are my Lord, every day when I rise up, you are Lord. You are Lord and the King of my life. You are the Lord, you're the King of my life. Yes, you are Lord. You are Lord every day, hallelujah. You are Lord every day, hallelujah. You are Lord, I said this morning in church when I was leading the service that everyone was sitting there like, bags of cement. And I told them what I tell us every morning. We have to shake off the dark and the gloom and rise up into the light of the Lord. If we don't do that, the day is a disaster from start to finish. But if we can shake off that gloom. Morning, Lawrence. Lawrence from America. Lawrence hasn't gone to bed yet. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on the earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, thine is the power, thine is the kingdom, and thine is the power forever. Ooh, ever, yes, forevermore. Amen. 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 Forever. Amen forever. Amen forever. Amen forevermore. Amen forever. Amen forever. Amen. Amen. Amen forever. Yes, brilliant. Two forms of 12-bar blues there, in E and in G. What you get here on Chatterbox is awesome, isn't it? My problem is, of course, that as I'm so crammed in here in the studio, I don't jump around, but I have all the equipment over. My first choir master used to say, if you wanna tap your feet, tap your toe. that's not quite the same, is it? But however, it's lovely to wake up and shake off, isn't it? And begin our week with a sense of God's presence. Amen. He's with us. Yesterday morning, the church was very sort of in a kind of dull mood, so I had to wake them up. And I told them what I tell us. This is the only day the Lord has given, and to sit there glum isn't suitable or acceptable. So I unglummed them. we had no organist, so I just sang a few choruses, and we got underway. You have to unglum yourself, don't you? I mean, every morning you've got to kind of shake yourself and shake yourself into service in the Lord's kingdom. And that's what I do every morning. And here we are again. We're up and running and ready for another week together. I was studying this passage this week. This weekend, 1 Kings 18. This is after Mount Carmel. Elijah said to Ahab, "Go eat and drink, for there is a sound of heavy rain." Well, there hadn't been a sound of heavy rain for nearly 3 years, because Elijah had called forth a drought, so there hadn't been any rain. We know how he feels here. So Ahab went off to eat and drink, but Elijah climbed to the top of Carmel, bowed down to the ground and put his face between his knees. Note that. I see that a lot in the kingdom. There's work to be done, but only one man's going to do it. All the rest have pushed off to eat and drink. You know, I so often see that in the kingdom. There's work to be done, but it's my holiday. So I've switched my phone off and everything, and I'm going to have my holiday. There's work to be done. Ahab is, I feel, a picture of many Christians, that they serve the Lord when it suits them, but when it doesn't suit them, they'll go off and eat and drink. So Elijah went up to the top of Carmel and began to pray. He began to intercede passionately, and he said to his servant, "Go out towards the sea, see what you can see." And the servant went and said, "I saw nothing." And 7 times Elijah said, "Go back." And the 7th time the servant reported, a cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea. 7 times Elijah had to go to the well of prayer in order to get what he wanted. 7 times to the well of prayer. What are the 7 wells he went to? I began to think about that. What was the process that he went through? I'm going to look at that next 2 or 3 days, because it's 7 of them. What wells of prayer do we go to for to see the movement of the Spirit? Because that's what Elijah wanted. He wanted the Spirit to move. What wells of prayer would he go to? Well, he went to one after the other, each one getting more deeper than the previous one. A lot of Christians have a very strange attitude to prayer, is that there's just the one type. There isn't. It's in the spiritual world, there's movement and development. Elijah found 7 different ways of praying in order to get what he really believed God wanted. And what were they? Let's see if we can see them. They're not complicated. Morning, Paul. They're not complicated at all. Not complicated wells. It's just that it seems to me most Christians only have one tool in their toolbox. Now, my son John is great at do-it-yourself. He's coming to fit a sink, I think, today or tomorrow. He's very good at it. But he always says there's a tool for the job. So you have to buy the tool for the job. You can't make do. There's a certain spanner you need for tightening up taps underneath sinks. And no other spanner will do it. You can try to, it doesn't work. He's got loads of tools in his toolbox for the different jobs he has to do. And Christians have lots of tools in their prayer box. Let's see what they are. Let's see what wells Elijah went to. Let's see if we can't move through them this week into a deeper sense of prayer. The first one was obvious. Very obvious. Number 1, Matthew 6. This is what Jesus said. When you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep babbling like the pagans, for they think they are heard because of their many words. I'd say that describes Ghana, a lot of Ghanaian prayer. Let's say 10 million words and the Lord will hear. The Lord is saying, no, that's not how it's done. When you go, pray, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. This is basic prayer. This is the first prayer well. The Greek word is proseuche. It means to ask, to pray, to seek. It's not intense. It's not difficult. I prayed this morning, Lord, will all this equipment work? Apparently it appears to be working at the moment. I prayed, I let the guitar sound good this morning because I know, and it did. And I thought, well, I wonder if anyone will come on this morning. I was singing away and Abigail came on, and now I'm praying that I'm going to say the right thing. And then Mary's got a blood test this morning. I'm praying that's all right. That stuff. I prayed for my daily bread. I've already had breakfast before I came on this morning. And, that stuff. One of my grandchildren is driving today. I'm praying for safe travel. You know all these things. This is the basic proseuche prayer. I call it Our Father prayer. When I'm trying to distinguish between Our Father prayer and the other wells, I call the first well Our Father well. Throw your bucket down as often as you like. Pull up as much as you want. The Lord just said ask. And this is how I see it. I tell the Lord my need and I let him pull up the water I need. I don't tell him what water I need. I just said, Lord, I need this equipment to work. please you do what you need to do. And that's how I pray our Father prayer. Lord, I need Mary to get safely to the clinic this morning. And I leave it to him then to do what he has to do. It's a partnership, the first well. We ask and he does. In the first well, we don't tell. We ask. Ask for whatever you need. And I ask. I've asked for a number of things today. And I'm leaving it to the Lord to deal with it. I don't get caught up in telling. I just ask. Lovely, isn't it? Great. Okay, very familiar. I'm sure Elijah dropped his bucket down that well a great deal. Good. But it didn't work on this occasion. The cloud didn't come. So he moved on to the second well, and it was this, the widow of Zarephath. He got to the Zarephath, you remember, he was in the Kiriath ravine. He didn't get any, suddenly the water dried up, and the Lord said, go to Zarephath. You'll find a widow there who will provide for you. And so he went to Zarephath and he found the widow and he said, could you give me some bread and some stuff? And she said, I've none left, just enough to feed myself and my son, and we're going to lay down and die. And Elijah said, give to me, and I promise you, your oil will never run out through this drought. Now this is now more serious, because she is going to have to balance up, on the one hand, the man of God's prophecy against the death of her son. So we've moved now from our father. This second well is much deeper. It is really, will you pay the price? It's the second well. She had to decide. I'm watching the times, you know, all the times why I keep looking here, you know. She had to decide, was she going to believe God, or was she going to believe herself? And if she didn't believe God, maybe. But if she believed God, her son's life was on the line, because she was going to use the last of what she had to share with this man of God when there wasn't enough for the two of them anyway. The second well is called, will you pay the price? And that's the second one Elijah came to. Now, this well isn't fatal. I mean, she could not have taken his offer, and she would have done what she said she was going to do. It was the only course open to us. I don't think anyone would judge her. There was nothing else for her to do, and she would have done that. So there was another course open to her, but there was also God's course open to her. But in between the two stood the words, will you pay the price? Elijah said, God will answer your need, but first you have to trust my promise that he will meet that need if you give to me. Now that's much more serious. And Elijah was being asked, you know, will you pay the price, Elijah? If I bring the cloud the size of a man's hand, what will you pay? Well, he was paying, wasn't he? He already got himself into trouble with Bathsheba, with Jezebel, who was threatened to kill him. Was about to threaten to kill him, shall we say. The road beyond Carmel for him was a bad one. The price he was going to have to pay for the rain coming was going to be, he would stand before Jezebel and she would threaten his life. And she certainly killed for pleasure. See? The Lord is saying to Elijah, well, let me see. You want the rain? Like, will you pay? Elijah wasn't a fool. I'm sure he's fully aware of what was going to happen after Carmel. I'm sure he knew there was trouble ahead. The question is, would he pay it? Because see, what he could have said is, no, I won't. Don't bring the rain. Don't bring it. Then they'd have all died, and there'd been no problem with Jezebel because she'd have died. There'd been no issue. That would have been done, job done. But the Lord is saying, I don't want that, Elijah. But who's going to pay? Now there's a question for you and me when it comes to seeking the will of God and asking for him to act for us. Often, the first well, the Our Father well isn't enough. The issues are far deeper than give me my daily bread. The second well says, well, I will, but will you pay the price of what I'm going to do for you? A lot of Christians quit at this point because, to be honest with you, brothers and sisters, most Christians don't want to pay anything. They just want to jump up and down and feel good. And I see that all over the world. You know, while the going's good, it's good, and while it's not good, they sulk They aren't prepared to bear the burden and the pain and the cost of what the Lord wants to do. And there is one. Don't think that walking the Christian life is a picnic. Someone once said to me, and I was talking to them in a cafe or something, I'm not following your Christ. He said, I don't need a crutch to lean on. I leant over and I said, we don't want you to follow Christ. You ain't strong enough. That certainly caused him to stop and think. There's a price to answered prayer in the world, number 2, and it is this: will you pay? This is not a game, I love walking with Christ. I'm rabbiting now. Look at the time. Where's it go? I love walking with the Lord. I wouldn't change it for anything, but it's not a joke. It has its great moments, and lovely moments. Like yesterday morning's worship. If you weren't there, you missed a stunner. I think most of you probably were. You missed a stunner yesterday. Following Teresa or so at the burning fire of love. We certainly experienced that. Brilliant. Loved it. But it's hard. And the longer you walk with him, the harder it gets and the higher the price. And prayers don't get answered for those who won't pay. And that's worth thinking about. And Elijah's there, and he's saying, all right, trouble ahead. All right, I'll pay. It wasn't enough. Tomorrow, we'll see what the next well was that he went to. Thought-provoking, isn't it? Don't you think? We read that passage, don't think about it. Elijah prayed 7 times, oh God, oh God, oh God, and he did it. No. Elijah's no different to us. He's struggling in prayer. He tried the first well. That's the place to begin, isn't it? Our Father. Didn't work. Then he remembered what happened at Zarephath, and he thought, oh my goodness, it isn't just her that's on the line, it's me too. And he said, okay, I'll do that. Still no cloud. So what's going on here? He needs to go to the other wells, and the other wells are very deep. Let's see if we can explore them this week. I honestly think this is very interesting theology and teaching, and I hope it'll challenge us greatly. Good. Do you know what? If the Christian faith was easy, I wouldn't bother. It's the fight that brings out the fighter in me. And I remember reading this old theologian who said, God only gives the toughest assignments to the toughest soldiers. I'll settle for that. I remember reading about Gideon, and those 29,700 went back to the camp. Fancy sitting there, eating a McDonald's burger and reading the paper, and have the other 300 come in and say, we've seen God at work. No. Me? I want to be with the 300. I want to see God at work, so I have to pay for that. And that's me. I'm a fighter. I don't want it. I don't want it easy, because if it's easy, I'm not in the battle, am I? I'm not in the front line. I want to be in the front line, fighting in the front line. That's what I've always wanted. That's where the real thrill is of being a Christian. Well 2 warns me. Will you pay? I've paid, and I'll go on paying. So tomorrow's well, however, we'll have to look deeper then, won't we, and see what the Lord has for us. Isn't it exciting, isn't it? Well, it was a very hot weekend here. It's been hot the last 2 or 3 times, and 2 or 3 almost 2 months. I was reading a poet who said, I was watching some guy who's a shepherd up in the Highlands of Scotland, and he said, sometimes, he said, when you go out into the fields to get your sheep, you can taste the smell of the heather. And I thought that was a lovely poetic picture, to taste the smell of the heather. I knew exactly what he meant. Somehow you go beyond, just seeing it, to actually almost tasting it. It struck me as a lovely picture. And after a while, thinking about it, I wrote this, and because I was taken by his idea. And this is it for today. I trod the heather, and in its perfume smelt the rain that gave it life, and tasted the sun that urged it up to flower. And then it's gone, crushed in the icy hand of winter. It lays unknown, forgotten, until the warming sun draws it up and it flowers again. I am in that cycle, born to flower and then to fade away into the warm arms of eternity. I can only hope that my oh so brief flowering will be a perfume to gladden the heart of the one that made me. And if it is, that will be reward enough, and I will know in eternity contentment. It's quite nice, isn't it, really? You know, the cycle of the heather, the taste and the smell of it. And that's the cycle of my life. I want to be a taste and a smell in the heart of God. And if I can be that, my life has been complete. And when I come to be in eternity, I'll rest secure, knowing that for a few milliseconds, the Lord tasted the heather in my life, and he was content. And so am I. Lovely, isn't it? I can only hope that my so brief flowering will be a perfume to gladden the heart of the one that made me. I think that's exactly it. That's exactly what I want. I don't want success, or power, or influence, or money, or anything. When you get to heaven, those things will count for nothing. But if I have been, for a few moments, the fragrance of creation to him, just for a few moments, that'll do me. I hope it will do you as well. Well, look, thank you, Heather. Thank you, David. Yes, it is quite challenging, the wells, but exciting, I think. And thank you, Heather. Yeah, thank you, that is. It is a nice poem, isn't it? I can only hope that my so brief flowering will be a perfume to gladden the heart of the one that made me. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, there we are, everybody. A new week has begun. We've dipped into a couple of wells, and they will strengthen us, and tomorrow we'll look at some more. So there we are. It's 7:49, time to switch to Facebook. And as I always say, if you are if you're one of our Facebook family, I suggest you switch over now for this one anyway. But if you're not part of our Facebook family, but you're just on YouTube, please stay, because YouTube's going to run and you can join us. Don't forget, if you're new to YouTube, press that subscribe button, and then you get a direct link from me whenever we go live, and it saves you trying to track down the link. We have 60 people subscribing now, so that's really fruitful, and we are pushing on. I think we're now aiming for 75, so we'll just plod quietly on. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, YouTube. And now let's get ready for Facebook.